Hey everybody, Tanya Rooney here with Tribe Builders Podcast, and I am super excited to have this guest today. I just got to learn even more about him, and I pretty much told him I need to be best friends with him because, oh my God, there's so many things that I want to ask him, and I just want to ask all these questions and find out more. So I'm excited to ask him more questions on the podcast and get you to get to know him as well. So, welcome, Mike Sebastian. How's it going?
Good. Great. Walking down on this side of the world. I love it.
Awesome. Where are you coming from today, or where are you sitting in the United States
Louisville,
right now?
Kentucky.
Oh, right.
So I've
Awesome.
only been here for a few weeks now, so it's new to me and everyone else. So I love it.
That's awesome. Okay, so well, perfect segue. Like, what are you doing in Louisville, Kentucky, Mike?
So I just moved here. We left Seattle a year and a half ago, and I've been in an RV kind of traveling around since then. But we landed here so that we could specifically be here for our builds. So we've got 6 unique builds going on in Red River Gorge. There's a couple more that are going to follow it once those are done. And then we've got a potential 72-acre development that we're looking at right now, and all of that needed someone to be hands-on. So
Well, okay, so now tell me about, like, I hear builds, I hear all these things. I think it's something to do with short-term rentals. Tell me more about, like, what's the company that you have? What's the business that you have going on?
yeah, so we've got the Hideaways. Myself and Jordan Holmes run the Hideaways, and we build and then manage unique short-term rentals across the United States. Mainly focused in Kentucky. We've got some in Georgia, Ohio, and Washington, but trying to really focus here. There's a lot of opportunity, a lot of really good people here that we found. So we've bought like 7 houses down there right now. We're building 6 more, and then if we can land this 72-acre deal, we'll have quite a bit more to work with and start putting some really unique stuff up in cliffs and whatnot.
That's super awesome. And tell me, do you guys talk to hosts about things? Like, you have another business on top of your
We
short-term
do,
rental business, right? Tell me
yeah.
about it.
So my goal and kind of all the spin-off things, I'll call them, that I like to do is to have one database point, if you will. So like like E6 in a spreadsheet, right? If that one action that I do every day can populate 15 different places, right? Whether it's social media or emails to the guests or training hosts in that case, and it's just one thing that I have to do every day, then it's something that I'm really interested in because it doesn't take any more bandwidth for me to actually do that action. So what we've done is we are advertising to guests for guests to come stay with us. So what we've done is taken all of those systems and processes that we've built and then put them into a platform to help educate other hosts about building, about guest messaging, about systems and automations, about marketing, you name it, on the STR side, but it has to fit within something that we're already doing. We're not learning new skill sets to train anybody. We are hosts first and then educators second. So Build Your Hideaway is what you're talking about. And that is a host education platform for unique short-term rental hosts.
Um, that's awesome. Can you tell me more about, like, when did that start and, like, what that group looks like right now?
So that started, ironically, I want to say 4 years ago.
Okay.
But it has only been really running, I want to say, for the last 8 months, maybe 6 months. I had a passion project. Before I was a host, but I had one short-term rental at the time. I still owned a marketing agency, and I really wanted to be a better writer. So I decided to start a blog called Superhost. And I had like Superhost with 2 U's, and I just launched it. And I would just write every single week. I was like, I'm just going to write until I'm good at writing. Right. I'd read a bunch of books. I'd taken some courses. I sucked at it. I still kind of suck at it, but I just wanted to write until I was good at writing, but I didn't want to write about marketing because it changes so quickly. So I wanted to write about hospitality and hosting and guest experiences and all that kind of stuff. It was way more interesting to me at the time. So I brought that to Jordan, like randomly on a call one day. And he was like, I think this is a thing. He's like, I think we could actually like do this. So in that time period, our brand had kind of changed from the 15 different ideas that we had that we'd have put together into this Hideaways theme. So everything we do is under the Hideaways umbrella. And we had all of our, Rockhaven hideouts and Heartland hideaways and all these different like hideaways in our names. So we have the Hideaways umbrella. And then what we did is we took Superhost and we changed it to Build Your Hideaway instead of, Discover the Hideaways is the other side. So we got the guest side and the host side. So we took all the content that was there, we kind of revamped it into actual training material courses. And then as we got further into this, it's all geared now towards unique builds specifically. But one of the beautiful things about unique builds is if you do it right, you're going to have 3 times the reservations that people do with non-unique builds. And they're going to be 3 times the dollar value, which means you have to have everything under that dial. You got to have your messages, you got to have your workflows, you got to have your marketing set up. Like everything needs to be really dialed in order to handle the volume that you can get. So in that course has all of those things as well, like your foundational elements, as well as now how do you stand out? How do you get that traffic that you need to really populate the top of the funnel?
That's super cool. So how do you so people could sign up for this course, and then do you have like a community that hangs out in a Facebook group and a Slack? Like what does that look like?
We do. We've got 3,000 people in the community. There's 105 right now inside of our Facebook group that are active daily, posting questions, posting that kind of stuff. And then we do free weekly calls. Right now it's twice a week. I don't know if we'll continue twice or just once. But free weekly calls every Monday and every Friday. It is literally just a powwow of people that enjoy hosting, that want to get on and learn some stuff. So we have every Monday we come with a topic where we'll talk about, performance or finances or marketing or social media management or whatever we want to talk about, and whatever's top of mind that week for us. And then we kind of say like we're hosts first, right? Like I'll cancel a call because I need to deal with something with a guest because I'm a host I don't want to be the person that's training on something I'm not doing. So it's like we're host first. So whatever it is that's top of mind for us is what we're going to talk about. This is what we impacted this week. We had a bad guest. We had, a bad review, whatever it is. We're going to bring that and we're going to talk about it. But then anything that anybody has questions on, we got 100 people in the group, ask a question. We might spend 60 seconds. We might spend 60 minutes just talking about that topic, depending on how passionate everybody gets and whatnot. And it's free. It's fun. It's such a blast. Like I absolutely love just connecting with other hosts in real life. So
It's super awesome. Has there been anything in your group? So do you guys have a paid mastermind as well?
No, so we have a couple trainings. We're actually doing a live training right now. It's an 8-week live training, hands-on training, where we go through, there's 7 or 8 people in this cohort that we go through their specific, like one wants to invest in Asheville, one wants to invest in Hunter, New York. So we're taking their exact market and putting it through our process. And then basically at the end saying like, how do you feel about investing here now? So we do those kind of things. And then we have a couple, I want to call them like a la carte things. Like we've got a whole revenue management course. So if you're in Price Labs and you want to make more money with your rental, this will take you step by step, screen share the whole way. I've got like a Airbnb SEO. So if you want to increase your rank on Airbnb week over week over week over week, like there's a course just for that. So they're more like a la carte courses.
Oh, okay, cool. So I'm curious then, so you have a pretty big Facebook group with all kinds of people in it. Has there been anything that's come up that's really surprised you within the community? So like you weren't a part of either the conversation or just something that's like, oh, this thing happened and it was so cool.
So there's like a recurring theme that we're actually trying to get away from. It's really funny. Which I know everybody that we talk to is like, go with the uniqueness, lead with the uniqueness. The uniqueness is what it's true. Like the uniqueness is what makes money. The uniqueness is what gathers the attention drives the desire drives everything. So that model works. But what's funny is that people in the Facebook group don't understand it when they first get there. Right? They're like, that's cool, but I don't have like $1 million to like float a box across a river and put it on an island and all this kind of stuff. So it takes a while for them to get there. What everybody wants to know in the beginning is systems and email marketing. Like those two things are like, how do you do? I don't even know what an email service provider is. Like, how would I ever sign up for that? So kind of inching them along, like it's going to take 5 minutes out of your day and then you're done. Right. So you've learned that part. Let's move on, like, let's go to the fun part. And then I think the other part is like how the unique build and how the unique elements, we call it unique stacking, right? Adding more and more and more unique features to your listing, but how those things can be $30, right? Everybody's like, oh, unique build, like that's going to be $1 million, right? It's not. You can do like a big rope swing for like less than $30, build it yourself, drill a hole and screw it in. Like it's not as complicated as people need to make it.
Yeah. Oh, that's super cool. And has it been fun to watch people in your community, like actually watch it work? As in you teach them, to add a rope swing, and then you get to see like the progression of what they're doing.
Well, they come back and they're like, check it out. They're like so excited about it. And I'm like, I told you, like it looks better than I expected it to look. Like I'm so stoked. So it's true.
Uh,
It's just like a limiting belief in their head where they're just like, I never perceived it that way. So like when you
mhm.
break it down, like I don't know, this is so funny, it brings me like way back. 2014, I was working for a company, and like if anybody can see like my screen, right? We would go into a meeting. There's 30 of us. We'd go into a meeting here, and we would talk about here, right? The company is going to go from here to here. It's going to be there. It's going to be great. We're going to change the world. Everybody's going to be like super pumped when we're done with this project, right? We would
Mhm.
all leave like on cloud nine. We'd be, oh my gosh, this is going to be awesome. We're going to change the whole world. Then everybody would go back to their desk, and they would be like, well, whoever has to do that, like that sucks. That's a lot of work. You know,
Yes.
nobody connected the dots. And it was like, you don't need to jump, from 2014 to 2024. What you need to do is just put one foot in front of the other, right? Start that first little piece. And that's exactly what this is with unique stacking. Like you do one thing, you see the revenue jump. Do one more thing, you see the revenue jump. It could be $30 and then $50. And eventually you have enough money coming in to say, I'm going to build like the most unique, crazy, like abstract build that I've ever seen, put it out there and
Yeah.
like start making real big bucks. But it's just kind of getting them out of their own head. I mean, like it doesn't have to be complicated. Do one thing today. So
Yeah, no, that's super awesome. So it sounds like you maybe have navigated limiting beliefs in a certain way. Like I like to talk about mindset stuff as often as I can, just to show people that everybody has limiting beliefs. This isn't a new thing. It's just
yep.
we all get over them differently. So what kinds of things do you do? Like, A, do you have any limiting beliefs? Maybe give an example, and then how do you get over it?
Yeah. I definitely have limiting beliefs. I think one of my like favorite things to do is try and identify and break through those. And it's like, if this is a limiting belief, how can I get around that? Right?
Hmm.
Is it education? Do I need to talk to a mentor? Do I need to, find somebody? Like I've reached out to people that were, in my view, unattainable. Right? I was like, you are, the hero in this story. And then you reach out on Twitter and they're like, let's jump on a call. And it's like, mind blown. Like, how's that possible? Right? And then they
Yeah.
start telling you things that are just, they make it simple. They break it down. And I think that's kind of like where my goal with that comes from. When I started my first company in 2014, I was terrified because payroll and taxes, right? On day one of running my company, I was not responsible for payroll or for taxes, right? I didn't even know anything about it. I just needed to start the company. I didn't think through that because I had built up this mountain of a problem, which was payroll and taxes. And I had a guy that actually was like, he heard that I was starting a company or wanted to, and he was like, sit down with me. He's like, let's just get lunch. So we went to this awesome salad place in San Diego, and he was like, I asked him like all of my questions. And at the very end, he's like, you need QuickBooks. He's like, it's not the best solution in the world, but it answers every single thing that you just asked me. And he literally took this mountain of a problem that I had and answered it with one word and a $25 a month subscription. And I was like, my whole life trajectory just changed after that point, right? Because of a $25 a month subscription and one word. And I was like, that's crazy to think about that. Like that little thing, right? That little obstacle was going to stop me. It was going to keep me in the W-2, the JOB for the rest of my life, right? And
Yeah.
I think those kind of things are like what I try and break through now. I am a little, I need some more limiting beliefs right now because sometimes I'm like, that's a good idea. Let's do it. It's like, I have no idea how we'll get there. Let's
Yeah.
just like sprint until we can actually like figure it out. So it's good that I have a business partner now that's like, maybe not that one today. It's like, let's do this one today,
Yes.
So,
That's
but
fantastic. So,
yeah,
so it sounds like though that you kind of know how to utilize your community for things like this. Like
yeah,
you just named a couple of people, somebody that reins you in, hence Jordan, your partner,
yeah,
and then somebody that you had lunch with that just blew
yeah.
your mind. Like, how did you know that person that you had lunch with?
That's a different me. That's a different lifetime. That was a friend of a friend of a friend in a small group of people that I met in San Diego when I first got there. Actually, good story. Everybody loves a good story. Everything comes in waves, right? And the wave today has been stories. So I'm going to tell this one. I met a girl on Tinder, and that girl met a hair cutter on what's the Groupon on Groupon.
Yeah, Groupon. Okay.
Yes. So she went twice. I went once in the middle of that because I was like, I need a haircut. I don't know where this is. So, or I don't know anybody around here. So I went there, got my haircut. broke up with the girl that I met on Tinder. We started dating for a little while, broke up with her. And the hair cutter actually texted me and was like, "Hey, it's about time for your haircut." And I was like, "Oh, it's okay. Like Jen and I broke up, I don't need to come back." And she's like, "Well, I'm not going to lie." She's like, "You were way cooler. So why don't you come in?" And I just won't text her for her appointment. So yeah, fast forward, that was 2013. Fast forward literally to 2023, November 2023, me and her husband, the haircutter's husband, who, by the way, she hadn't even met in 2013, right? So me and the haircutter's husband are walking around Red River Gorge in Kentucky, looking at land, and both put $250,000 each into a project so that we could be business partners and invest together. So yeah,
Yes. Okay.
yeah,
I love that you say this because I feel like I have so many of these stories. And I think a lot of people in real estate or in business have these because you never know where the community is going to come from. Like
nope,
you're building it every single day. Like right
yep,
now, if you're a business owner, you're building your tribe, whether
yep,
you know it or not, because all of a sudden the like random little thing you'll get from somebody is just
yep.
like you don't know that it's going to happen in 5 years or 10 years or
It
10
was the
minutes.
marriage of Tinder and Groupon that did it for me. I was just like, this is it, you know? It wasn't it the thousands of dollars I paid on masterminds and training and courses and events and networking. It was Tinder, Groupon. That was my secret sauce right there.
Well, I think it's great because but it's also about fostering some kind of conversation and like fostering some
Yes.
kind of relationship. And it doesn't mean that you have to do it even that often. Like,
Yep.
how many times would you say you talked to that gal in the last 10 years? Was it
Since
like
then,
daily? Was it weekly? Was it yearly? Yeah.
we talked. So in the beginning, for the first year, getting my haircut a couple of times and whatnot, that was it. Over
Hmm.
that year, we developed like a really close friendship. We got really close. So we were
Hmm.
after that hung out 2 or 3 times a week after
Hmm.
that. And then once she got married, I started hanging out with her husband. Like I had known him through their dating cycle and whatnot, but or dating phase, whatever you want to call it. But we became really good friends, and then we all had this shared, business entrepreneurship
Yeah.
interest. So the two of them and myself, and my wife's a teacher. Bless her heart, she does not care about the entrepreneurship side at all. So she loves the houses, but doesn't care about the actual business side. So it's the three of us when we get together that'll go do that, and then we come back and hang out with my wife. So, uh,
Well, I
yeah,
think that's really cool. And just like pointing out, like, you never know what's going to happen with one relationship. Like, that could
yeah,
have been a story of somebody you met at a mastermind. It could have been you met somebody at an event, like anywhere. But it's just fostering relationships that
yeah.
like feel aligned, that feel like it's a good conversation. You just keep going,
Yeah.
you know?
I like that phrase, like that feel aligned, because in the
Hmm.
beginning of my entrepreneurship journey, I was trying to pour into everyone, right? And learn from everyone and be present with everyone. I was like, I know relationships are like how all this works, so I need to just meet everyone and talk to everyone. And then I realized, I don't know, a few years in, that I was like, well, you can't meet everyone, you can't be present with everyone because there's too many people, right? You're just gonna run out of time. But
Yeah.
it is, and actually I do this right now. So I drive down to the gorge. It's 2 hours from where I live right now. I drive down there once a week and clear my entire calendar, and my only goal is to be present with the people that I'm potentially going to be present with that day, right? If I get on the computer and I do other work, that's fine, but I'm not planning on doing that. And last week it was 7:50 in the morning. I texted a guy that had a sign up for property for sale. He's like, well, when will you be there? And I was like, I'm here. He's like, I'll see you in 10 minutes. I spent 4 hours with him, right? We had 10 minutes notice. He drove up. He just wanted to show me all the stuff that he was doing in Kentucky. So we just drove around place to place to place to place. Turns out he knows the builder. He knows some contractors. He knows a handyman that I need today. So I texted him. I was like, do you know a handyman? He's like, I know everyone. You just let me know him. So, but that presence is really what does it. And it is not fakeable, right? I
Yeah.
can't show up
Yeah.
and pretend to be present. It's not something that's possible, in my opinion. And it has led, that single thing has led to more opportunities, connections, growth, personal development, you name it, than any other single activity. But it is also important to make sure that's like kind of selfishly that it aligns with you, right? Where are you going? What are you interested in? What are your goals? Because if you meet me today, I might not be that person for you. I'm not going to be that person for everyone, right? So, and if that's the case, that's fine. You don't need to be best friends with me for the next 10 years, right? But giving it that split second of an opportunity, or a couple minutes of an opportunity to really like figure, like you and me, like, where are you going? What are you doing? Who are you interested in? Who do you talk to? Right? And it's like,
Mhm.
there is something there. Let's, take another 10 minutes here. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think once I realized, like, I've been in my I'm gonna call it my mindset journey for a while now, because I got into real estate, and then there's a lot going on. There's a lot of things to learn. And I feel like mindset is a really big part of that. And then realizing alignment goes with mindset is really, really
hmm
important. Like being aligned with the people around you, the stuff that you're doing. Like if everything is hard every single day,
yep,
you're probably doing it wrong.
yep,
Like something
yep,
is like there's too much friction. And I
yep,
think learning that about yourself, especially in the entrepreneur world, like you gotta
yep,
learn how to get stuff off your plate and be like, this is the aligned things I'm working on, and these are the people that I'm working with. Like the people that I talk to every single day about hosting, I'm aligned with them. Like
yep,
we are literally so synced up on some things. It's crazy.
yep.
Like we have the same crazy stuff happen here and there, and it's just, but we know how, just we're aligned. Like that's the perfect word to put on on it.
It's my favorite thing when you're like, we use Asana. I hate texting and honestly not all phone calls. So we use Asana so I can answer on like my time and allow like
Yeah.
other people to do the same. It's such a beautiful thing when the person that you're working with so frequently or the person that you're talking to so frequently, your conversation changes from, are you okay if I do this? To, hey, I just did this, sending to you for visibility, because you know that both of you are going to think the same way about it, right? It's like, I know you're going to be
Yeah.
okay with it, but let me know if there's anything I'm off on, right? So,
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Like it sounds like you have a pretty aligned partnership, which is a big deal.
yeah,
I mean, because it's a marriage. Like I go into a partnership thinking, well, this is just another marriage. It's
yep,
just with different kind of
yep,
exchanges of money. Because
yep,
really, like marriage still has an exchange of money.
yep.
Plenty of times divorces, all that stuff. But a marriage and like or a partnership is the same dang thing. Like you
I
got to
couldn't
be
agree more.
very, very on the same page.
I think that I feel like in my worldview, everything is balanced, right? Either the macro or the micro, but everything will be balanced. So if you're feeling like elated over something today, it's like just make sure that you've already balanced out the other side of that. And if you're feeling super down, just know something great is coming, right? But I don't know if I feel that way about I do agree with the marriage analogy, but the relationship marriage and the business partnership marriage, it's like the business partnership marriage is lacking all of the good parts of the relationship marriage. And I'm like, when it goes bad, it goes real bad. Right. And I've been in those
Yeah.
where I'm like, what in the world is happening? So I completely agree though. You've got to make good
Well, it
decisions there
just
for
like
sure.
it can fall really hard really fast, and it's
Yep.
really not that fun, and you just have to prepare the same way you would with a marriage is with a prenup. You would do that with a contract with a partner.
Yep.
And yeah, it can be gross. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. Okay, tell me a little bit about I want to talk about like, so you've made a lot of relationships along the way. I mean, you've already given some pretty good examples of them, but is there one thing that you've made money from that came specifically from a connection within your community that's like, there's no way you would have that opportunity without that person being in your life or in your community?
Yes. Honestly, everything that we've been talking about with Build Your Hideaway. So it was a passion project. It was not going to be what it is today by any means with just me writing blogs, right? It wasn't going to turn into that. So Jordan, my whole relationship with Jordan, finding Jordan to be business partners with, was through another community. So I had bought 3 houses in Washington, started to venture over to Blue Ridge, Georgia, and realized like I need more education, right? My knowledge, I don't know if it was a limiting belief as much as just lack of knowledge on how to invest in things. I was like, I need to educate myself before I invest more. So I
Mhm.
joined another mastermind, met Jordan, and it's like this, like just like you said, it's like there's just this like symbiosis. So I was like, it makes sense. And there were, I want to say 200 people in that mastermind. He was the only one that I was like, oh my gosh, like that's me and this guy could crush it right now. So we started talking a little bit more, started talking about unique rentals, started kind of going down the rabbit hole of like, what would a business partnership look like? And immediately, like it was like light bulbs going off, right? It's like, yes, yes, yes. So we started, Build Your Hideaway. We've also got Horizon Hideaway as the top company for everything. And just started investing, started finding, deals, finding investment deals, investors in our deals and whatnot. And we got to 7 properties in the gorge really quick. So we've got 16 total between the two of us, and then 7 of those are combined. So, but that all happened in 2 years.
Yeah, that's awesome. And all because of a good conversation at a
Yep.
mastermind event of some
Yep.
kind.
It was the mastermind was digital at first, and then after we had decided this, they put on an in-person event, and both he and I went there. And since then, we've been meeting up at these job sites almost every other month. So
Oh, it's super cool.
yeah,
Can you tell me a little bit more about the stuff that you used to do? Because it sounds like you have a marketing background.
yep,
And can you tell me, like, was there a lot of community stuff surrounding like what you did there?
yes. So I had outside ROI was a marketing agency that I used to own. I sold in October of 2023. I ran it for it was like just under 10 years. Um, but that was in that space. Our primary client was mindfulness based clients. So Sounds True, Shift Network, Deepak Chopra, Brene Brown, Eckhart Tolle, all them. And there wasn't a single company that we worked with that didn't have their own version of a community. Like all of them had different names. You know, some were masterminds, some were tribes, some were groups. Like it just depended on what they wanted to call it. But all of that was to bring people together and connect them in that community, right? So Deepak was his whole health, and Eckhart was, power of now, power of presence, and those kind of focused groups depending on what people needed. And it was, I don't know, having like an external view of that was really beautiful because I would see people come in, like when people came into Eckhart's group, right? You had Power of Now, Power of Presence. Those are two entry level groups for him, depending on what it is that you're looking for, at that point in your life, what book you resonated with, right? And he would have those groups, he'd bring these people together. But then we call them Eckhartians. So you would see them, you'd see them like advance and develop in their own mindfulness journey. And then they would like level up to the next group and they'd level up to the third group. And then they would do this like big in-person conscious manifestation event where it was, I forgot, it was a week or 2 weeks and super expensive and they'd fly somewhere and they'd do all this. But it was beautiful to watch that, like, wherever you are is that place to start in your journey, right? There's going to be a group for you, but it's also freeing in nature because if you're in a group and you're like, I don't know if I'm getting out of this what I used to get out of it, it's not necessarily because something changed other than you advanced, right? You stepped forward and this group is still teaching you the 101. So it's like, hey, just find the 201 group, right? Go there, go to the next one and continue on your journey, knowing that like you are in control of your journey. So, but yeah, that,
Yeah,
that
that's
whole
so
space.
I just really love what you just said because I've had these conversations about masterminds kind of being like a trip to college, like you might have it might be 4 years and honestly might only be 4 quarters, but showing that and then once you get to that spot, instead of like creating friction on how you're not getting your money's worth anymore and you're answering too many people's questions and all of this stuff, you just graduate out of it.
Yep.
And it's okay to do that,
Yep.
to find your next group and then to treat that like your alumni, like I love
Yep.
the college that I went to. I'm still proud of it. I still talk about it that way. So I've started to treat the masterminds I've been a part of the same way. Like I
Yeah.
still cheerlead the first mastermind I ever joined
Yes.
because I think it's fantastic. Like it oh my God, it
It
introduced me to so
propelled
many
you.
different
Yes.
things. Yeah. Like
Yes.
I just like my mind, I don't even recognize the person that I was 10 years ago,
Yep.
nor 5 years ago. And so I think of those masterminds very fondly because they've just gotten me to where I am. And then I know that I need to graduate. I know it's the next step. So it's
You
really
know,
neat that watch that.
you know what I used to look at it as, and I don't know where I came up with this analogy. I've never really played video games, but the I always looked at like primary school all the way through college as like teaching you to drive a car, right? And then you get to the racetrack, and it's like up to you what you do. You can sit still, you can drive 100 miles an hour, you can go left, you can go right. It's up to you. But the track is there, right? That's life. That's where you're going to go. I always look at these masterminds as, I don't know what things are called, those little like strips that you go over in Mario Kart where you're doing like 60 miles an hour and it's like, and then you're doing 100 miles an hour and you're like, oh my God,
Yes.
right? You're going to slow down again after that. But it's like, that to me is like life. And when you say, hey, I want to get like more educated, right? You're going to go through that. And sometimes it's going to last for 2 seconds and sometimes it's going to last for a year. But it's, if you do it correctly, the goal is to be bored with it, right? I want to be so good that I don't need to learn anything from that because I get it, right? And that's, Jordan and I resonate really well with that. There's a couple of people that didn't, they kind of graduated the mastermind and they were like, that wasn't worth it. And I was like, we met each other. If nothing else comes of it, that wouldn't have happened, right? I started a whole business. I've got 100 and some people in a Facebook group. I got 3,000 people on an email list. And the only reason is because he and I had a conversation and said, let's change the brand from Superhost to Build Your Hideaway. Right. And if you can't be like thankful for that, I forgot the mastermind was a few $1,000s. It's like, I've wasted way more money than that on stupider ideas than joining mastermind, you know? So,
I completely agree, because honestly, anytime I do a meetup or like an event or like go whether that's an in-person event for a mastermind or a conference, I don't have expectations anymore, because I know the craziest shit's gonna
yep,
happen. Like
yep,
if the more I expect it, the more I'm like, I don't know, the more blindsided I get
yes,
by whatever's going to happen, because I think the universe, or like, I believe in the universe, and I think the universe is up to whatever the heck they want. It's
yep,
not what I want. It's not
yep,
that I need this very specific thing. I need to raise $100,000. So
yep.
that's what I'm going to find $100,000 while I'm there. Nope. Universe is like, haha, fuck off. We're going to do whatever the hell we
Yep,
want. And it's going to be, you're not going to find $100,000, but you're going to find three people that are eventually going to find you $4 million.
yep,
And that's also going to take 6 months. But so it's just like taking these steps.
yep,
You talk about like to take a small step, just keep
yep,
taking the steps,
yep,
because it's not up to you. Like you
yep,
can't force it. If you're not able to do the thing that you've been trying and trying and trying to do, it's probably not the right thing to do.
yep.
Like something is telling you that it's not going to happen for a reason.
Someone the other day, it's either a podcast or it was a podcast Jordan listened to, and he told me, but there's a guy that said, don't measure the output. Like everybody says, like, oh, I want to get to like 20 units. I want to get to 100 units, right? And that'll be like the goal. It's like, don't measure the output, measure the input, because that's the only thing that you have control over. And I love that so
Yes.
much, because for me, it's like, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to log in, and I'm going to do the things that I can do, right? Making sure that you do it organized, whatever. But measure the input. And he said that his staff works from 8 to goal, right? It's not 8 to 5, it's not 8 to 4, it's not 9 to 10, right? They work from 8 to goal. So you get in at 8, you log in. When you hit your goal, you go home. If your goal is 100 sales calls, you did all those by 9 a.m., cool, go home, right? That's what you're supposed
Yeah.
to do. And it was, to me, it was just so beautiful, because it's like, that is the one foot in front of the other mentality. It's like, yeah, you might have a bad day, but like, did you do a few things? Did you get there and try, right? The universe might say, you know what, not today. Like, you're not going to do this. Like, I'm going to push through this. I'm going to keep going a couple more things, right? And
Mhm.
it's, I don't know, it gives you like, it is an illusion of control, right? It's an illusion. I'm going to
Mhm.
straight up say it. Like, we're not in control. There's other things that are out there doing it. However, I think that like the illusion of control is what keeps us sane, right? It's like, let me just
Yeah.
try, let me put one foot in front of the other, make sure I'm putting my good effort into it. You know, and your mentality, you're talking about mentality, right? Where it's like, if you're doing that, it's like, I do good, I feel good, I feel productive, right? And that's going to radiate around you. It's going to transmit to your tribe that's sitting next to you. And then all of a sudden, like, everybody's going to start building on that. So,
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like this is just, yep, this is an aligned conversation, people. If you're
yeah.
listening, this is what it looks like, because
Yep.
we're both like, yes, we're cheerleading the same things, and it's like you can control you. Like
Yep.
we run some accountability groups actually through Tribe Builders, and the whole entire point is you can't control the fact that you're going to buy a house, like maybe that's your goal over 12 weeks is I want to buy a house at the end of this. That's my goal. You can't control the buying of the house. You can control all the things to get you to buy the house. Like you can control
Yes.
how many calls or how many offers you make a week, how many banks you talk to a week to be prepared for that. Like you can control like how many things you look at, how many calls you make, all of that stuff, but you can't control the fact that somebody says offer accepted. Like you have
Yep.
to be, like you have
I'm gonna
to
read.
you can
I'm
do the
gonna read
thing.
the top line of an email that I have that's going out this Friday. It's a newsletter that I write every week. I'm
Okay.
not even kidding. It says, I need $2.1 million for the build, and it finally closed 4 weeks ago. Right? I was trying
Uh-huh.
to get a loan, exactly like you said, trying to buy something. I need $2.1 million. It took 9 months, 276 days, and 47 lenders that I talked to numerous times each. So 276 days just trying to get the loan. We haven't started the build. We didn't do any of the design. And that was 9 months of updating investors. Hey, nothing's changed. We're still waiting. Hey, nothing's changed. We're still waiting. Hey, nothing. Like, how do you fend off an investor that's waited for 9 months, right? 9 months
Yeah.
pitching the project to lenders, which is numerous conversations, Zoom calls, and I'm going over the exact same pitch every single time. I'm shooting myself. It was 9 months of thinking everything's going to fall apart. I was like, the whole project's going to crash. There's no way that people are going to wait around this long, right? It was
Yeah.
last November that we did it, and I signed 34 days ago and finally got it. But that's exactly right. It's like, I wasn't looking at, are we at the goal? I wasn't looking at, have we failed on the goal? I was looking at, can I call another lender? Can I have another
Yeah.
conversation? Right. And now I'll tell you what, like we got the loan, we got the financing, the builds are under construction, and I have the most fantastic relationship with this lender. She is the most human person, which anybody who's gone through the loan process for a mortgage, like they're not human beings, they are robots, and it's very
Yep.
challenging to break
Underwriting
through.
robots.
Yes. It's like, what about
Yes.
this? And they're like, send me the form. Gosh. This woman like went, she spent 8 hours walking our property. I've had dinner with her. Like, she's absolutely awesome human being. And now we're able to like take that into future, projects that we're working on. And I can actually just text her for advice. Be like, hey, I'm thinking about a laundromat. What do you think? And she's like, don't get a loan for that. Go get a HELOC on this other property and do this. And I was like, amazing. How
That's
you start advancing.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's building your bench of people that are
Yeah.
awesome. And then also the calling banks, the amount of people that I talk to that I'm like, they're like, well, I couldn't get a loan on this. And honestly, I'm in this right now. I'm trying to find a loan for something. I've called people and I need to call more banks, but that's always the answer. Like the people that were my mentors, they're like, call more banks. They're like, oh, how many banks have you called? Well, I've called 2. Why aren't you calling more banks? Like call
Yes.
10, call 20, call 30, call 40, call 50.
Yep.
If you want it and you want to be obsessed with it, you would call more banks.
Yep.
If you don't really want it, that's okay. If you want to
Yes.
give up that easily, then, we're just going to do it that way.
Yep.
Okay, so tell me, I want to know what your biggest win has been.
Oh, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to know what my biggest win was at the moment that I felt the win, or looking back retroactively? Do you want to know?
Ooh, both. Totally
Yeah.
want both. Yeah.
I think selling the agency is definitely one.
Yeah.
That was a big day. My wins aren't as much like, they're not as much financial as they are, what did I learn and can I use that again? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the win in selling the agency. Is I had a buddy ask me, we're both running marketing agencies, we're both stressed, and that industry just changes so fast. Like if you build foundations in the marketing space, like the next week Facebook and Google update their algorithms and you have to start your whole business over. Like, it's insane, and you have to stay on top of it. It's one of the reasons I did this switch. I love it so much, like the slower pace of real estate. But that being said, I had a friend ask me probably February of 2023, if you could sell your business for 1x valuation, would you do it today? And I was 1x gross revenue. And I was like, no, I knew nothing about selling, not a single thing, never even thought about selling businesses. And I was like, no, it's worth way more than that. That was my response. And then I did the math and I was like, I would make $70,000 a month for a year if I sold the business today for 1x gross. And I was like, that's not bad. I was like, I could survive on that by all means. I could cut that in half and live for 2 years and survive great on that. But what I kind of thought is, could I start another business in that time? Right? Could I get something that I was more dedicated to, more passionate about in that time? And my answer is yes. If I had 2 years of don't worry about money, like, yes, I can do that. So I got really excited about that. I went and started talking to some business brokers, and that entered me into this whole world of selling businesses and
Mm-hmm.
where this money comes from, and like business acquisition, growth, and sale. And that is invaluable. Anybody who hasn't done it, I highly recommend like dipping your toe in that world, because it's really exciting. And now everything that we're doing with all of our current businesses is we're setting it up in a manner to sell, right? We don't necessarily have the intent to sell today because we're really passionate about it. But when I'm not passionate about it, I don't want to sit down and build SOPs and systems, right? When I've
Yeah.
lost my passion, the fire's gone out, I just want to be like, hey, we've already done this. It's yours. Enjoy. Right? It's plug and play.
Yeah.
You guys can have it. It'll run without me. But until then, I want to be the person doing it. And it's kind of best of both worlds. But that knowledge, that point in the sand where it's like, it's mine. And now it's Halloween. Halloween day is the day that it was not mine anymore. And I was like, this is yours. And it feels weird. And everybody was like, are you sad to it's your baby? Like, you built it for the last decade. Are you sad about it? And I was like, nope. I was like, again, like mastermind mentality, right? It accelerated my life to here. I'm going to take that and do it 5 times faster next time. Right. And I'm excited about it. And we're less than a year from the sale, and we already have more revenue in this company than we did in the last one. So
That's so
yeah,
cool. I
yeah,
love that. And I love it when people do talk about, like, one of my coaches said, build a monster. You're building a monster, not a baby. So
yep,
you're not trying to sell your baby. You're trying to build, and the monster
yes,
is the Frankenstein monster. So
yes,
it's like,
yes,
literally, this is what you're building. Yes, like, you're
yep,
proud of it, but you need to build it to actually sell it. And I think
yes,
it's a really good lesson every single time.
yep. And it's so worth doing it again. Like if it's something that you're that in love with, it's like
Mhm.
instead of fixing that one, if it's sellable, sell it and go do it again. There's it's so funny. Gorge is a very small market right now. There's like 700 Airbnbs, and I think it's a diamond in the rough. Like I think it's literally a needle in a haystack of Airbnb rental places right now, and nobody knows because all the paperwork is on paper, right? When people look it up, they're
Yes.
like, I would never invest there. Like the houses that are for sale or nothing. The comps are this. I was like, yeah, it's because you didn't go to the office and flip through the deed book and see what they're actually selling for. They're not online, right? So it's just such a gold mine right now for that. But that being said, there's a couple people there that are big fish in small ponds, and I love them to death. I think they're doing a great job, but their mentality towards competition is buy all the land so other people can't.
Oh
And
no.
yes. Which is, if you can afford it, great. But there's a lot of land in the gorge, so it's not going to work forever. So that being said, a couple of people have talked to me. They're like, "Do you want to tell people about the gorge, or do you want to hold it in? Right? Do you want to just keep it close to your chest, press your cards?" And I was like, "There's no benefit to that for me, right? I'm not going to be able to do it forever. Like, I would rather pour into all these people and have the challenge for me to outcompete." Right? Come
Yeah.
in and do your best. I want to see what you can do because I want to make sure that I can do better. Right. And if I
Yeah.
can't, awesome. Then you won fair and square. That's fantastic. I'll go find another market. And that's the case. But I just think there's so much value to that. And when you get in this like business mindset, business sale mindset, growing businesses mindset, it really keeps you on the edge of your seat of, let me research, let me talk to people like we're talking about, let
Mhm.
me like bump elbows with people that are smarter than me and knowledgeable and have different ideas and really find a way for me as an entrepreneur to implement that into my system to make sure that it's attractive to 2 million people across the world that want to come stay with
Oh,
me in
that's
the short
super
term at least.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is awesome. I agree that, like, the best person's gonna win, and there's space
Yes.
for everybody. It doesn't matter because,
Yep.
I mean, I think my favorite part about real estate is that we can all look at the exact same piece of land. We could look at the same house. We could look at the same piece of property, and we will all have a different idea. It could
Yep.
be similar, but it will never, ever, ever be
Yep.
the same scope. It'll never be the same, like, swing on the same tree, like any of that stuff.
Yep.
Like, it is so different, and that's my favorite part about real estate is that we can all do it differently and we're not wrong. Like, nobody's
Yep.
wrong unless you're stealing people's money, which don't fucking do that. Like, just let's take that off the table.
Yep.
But everything else is like, it's okay. There are places for people that want to get all their furnishings at Walmart and charge guests $60 a night, and they don't
Yep.
care how clean it is. Like, there's a space for them because there's guests. There's always going to be guests that want that. And then
Yep.
there's always going to be a space for the people that want to spend $100, $300, $500. Like,
Yep.
there's space for all of us. And I think that's the cool part is, like,
Yep.
then there's choices. We all love choice. Like,
Yep.
Americans love choices.
Yes,
And
they do.
I want all the choices possible
Yep.
so that depending on my mood, I can pick whatever I want. So
Well,
I think
it's so true too
it's
because like
cool.
I go places sometimes and I'm like, this is not an important trip for me. I'm here for 24 hours. I'm gonna
Yes.
spend 2 hours. It's like I want the cheapest pot. Like give me a clean bed in the middle of nowhere. That's perfect, right? And then I go other places where I'm like, oh, it's my anniversary. I want to wow my wife. I'm really excited. I got a
Yes.
bonus. We want a place to go out to dinner. So like everybody changes, and I completely agree. We actually talk about in our calls and Build Your Hideaway. The whole point of that is specifically like what you're talking about is breaking down like who your customer avatar is, and also that you're not buying. There's a little transition to get into like business owner. You can't just have one Airbnb, throw it on Airbnb, and be like, oh, an entrepreneur. Right? It's cool. You're doing a side project or project. That's good. But like you can turn that into a business. You can create an email list and marketing and like do all the things that are required for business. But when you do that, you're almost not buying real estate at that point. You're buying a business that operates on real estate. So you get the tangible benefits of the real estate, but like I bought a $510,000 house that's 600 square feet in Blue Ridge, Georgia. Right? That's ridiculous. From a cost per square foot perspective, there's
Mhm.
everyone was like, "Don't buy that. That's the dumbest thing you could ever do."
It
And
makes good
for
money.
for a long time, I was like, I kind of agree because like the real estate valuations don't match up. And then I was like, wait, I'm not buying real estate. I'm buying a business. This is a cash flowing business. And like, if you evaluate it like I did outside ROI, it makes perfect sense. Anybody would buy it at that point.
Yeah.
It just so
Yeah.
happens that it's located in this little tiny building. Right. But to me also, that's beautiful, because if it's cash flowing at that point, I only need, if I have 1 day customers, I only need 365 in a year. What other business says, hey, I'm maxed out at 365? Right.
Yeah.
At that point, I can't have any
It's
more.
true.
And it's beautiful. So anyway, that being said, like, there's so many different mentalities and ways to look at it and ways to frame it and shape it that all make it more fun. It's the art. I'm not an artsy person. That's my art right there. It's like, how can we look at this in a different way to make sense? So
no, I think that's super cool. And this also now makes me think, okay, just listening to you the last 10 minutes, like I have a feeling I know what an answer would be, but I want to ask you specifically, what do you think your biggest miss is?
Biggest miss. That's a good one.
I feel keep going.
Go ahead.
No.
I think it's doing too many. Not saying no. My biggest miss is no. I get really excited about ideas. I'll say this changed in the last 2 years. I've really started to say, like, that's not for me, right? Because I never had the confidence. I was like, I could probably do that, right? I could do anything. I could figure it out, 1 foot in front of the other. Well, the thing is, I only have 2, right? So if I'm going 1 foot in front of the other on 9 projects, right, I'm really only working on one at a time. So that being said, in the last like year and a half, 2 years, I've really started to say, not necessarily like, no, it's not a good idea, no, whatever, but it's not for me right now, right? This is what I'm focused on right now, and I want to stay focused on this. So we have the hyper fixation on a database point, right? This one cell should feed all the things that we're doing. If we're really good at building unique builds and hosting, I'll say unique guests, they're pretty standard guests, but they're in unique builds. But if we're really good at building unique builds and hosting, right, then everything gets fed by that. That's beautiful. So if someone else comes to me and says, hey, I want to build this, graphic design store and it's got $1 million valuation, yada, yada. It's like, that's cool. Not for me right now. I'm focused on this project. So not saying no is going to be my biggest miss.
Yeah, that's super cool. And the reason I asked you, because I already noticed this about you, is that you probably don't have failures. You probably don't think very many things are failures in your life. You think they're opportunities, they're essentially learning experiences. And that's why it's like, I kind of get a kick out of like asking someone like you that, because you're just like, yeah, I don't really have misses, because you learn. Like, even if you lose $50,000, you just learned. And you learned by paying this amount of money, but it still wasn't that big of a miss, because you now learned that you shouldn't do that, that you don't want to do that, whatever it is. So I've really enjoyed that.
It was 7.
That's great.
I don't think the site's there anymore, but if you go to beerd.co, Beard Co, but with beer and beard, I started a beard oil brand, a beard oil company. I was doing marketing at the time. I was big into e-commerce. I started a beard oil company with labels that looked like IPA cans, right?
Oh.
All the beard oil, or all the IPA cans. I'm a big beer drinker, so all the IPA cans I had, I was like, these are so cool. So I had a graphic design team. I had e-com experience with all that, and I had shipping. Like, I knew all the resources to get all this thing done. I spent $7,000. I was like, I got it. I'm good. I spent $7,000 putting all the labels together, got the oil, got everything, got the stuff shut up. I think I sold 8 bottles. And yeah. And when that was 6 years ago, and I think I threw them away a year ago. I moved them to like 4 different houses, from San Diego to Seattle, from Seattle to 4 different places up there. Finally, we were moving into an RV, and my wife's like, "You're not bringing these," and I was like, "Just put them in." Like, it's a sad day, but it's that exact thing. What I learned there is that I don't say no enough. It was a good idea. I just didn't have the bandwidth to do it. Had I focused, that would have been a successful journey. However, it wasn't that. I tell my wife all the time, I'm like, there's a 0.5% exception to this, right? There are businesses that just fail, whether it's government regulation, something outside your control. But I was like, 99.5% of businesses don't fail. People just stop, right? It's exhausting, right? And you have to pivot and change and start from the beginning and yada, yada, yada. But I've taken ideas that were a marketing agency, turned into a beard oil brand, turned into a short-term rental company, like unique short-term rental management company. And you can call all of that the same journey, just pivoting along to where your passion is, where the opportunities are. And as long as you have the energy to put one foot in front of the other for that, like, it will be successful. You will find success, right?
Yeah.
It's the people that are tired and exhausted and don't have the passion and want the stability, whatever it is. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing for them, because if they say, hey, it's not for me and I want to get out, good. That's a really good thing to realize, because it'll eat you alive if you don't, for sure.
Yeah.
And then there's the 0.5% that are true failures, where it's, government took them or what. I don't know. I'm not a government person, but whatever happens, there are actual failures out there. So.
No, it's a really good example. I talked to a gal yesterday about something similar, that she said her father-in-law has had a business for like 30, 35 years, and they just chipped away. They've always had the same 6 people, and it's just 30 years of like, okay, now their building is paid off, and now this is paid off, and now this is paid off, and they just keep going. And it's just like, it's just
What a
one foot in front of
beautiful life.
consistent. It's just consistency. Exactly. Like, he's where he wants to be, and he worked as hard as he wanted to. And I think that's the point of, I mean, even in entrepreneurship, you have to decide how much do you want to work? Because, I have seasons of both. Like, I don't really want to work very much right now. I'm in a season where I have to work a lot, and soon enough I won't be in that season again. And it just kind of like goes, it ebbs and flows. And that's
Do you have
kind of the beauty of it.
You're able to like stack on new projects when you're motivated, and finish them and not take new ones when you're not?
Kind of. I do a lot of that. It's kind of, and honestly, it's like we were talking about universal stuff. Like, honestly, when I really need some money or need something, all of a sudden a project like lands in my lap. It literally just lands in my lap. I'm doing one right now, and I'm like, perfect. This is going to float us for what we need for this portion. And then, and then it'll go away. And it's absolutely beautiful. And that's, and that's like all surrounding consulting. It's just like, oh, cool. I needed this quick injection of money and work, and then it goes away. And I love that.
One of my favorite pieces of advice, as I was 1 year into entrepreneurship, I went to a tax guy. I was like, I don't know how to do taxes. Please help me. And we just got to talking while I was there. And he said, when your business slows down, he's like, the best advice I can give you is, when your business slows down, he's like, enjoy it. Go to the beach, ride your bike, go to the gym, do something. He's like, because if you don't, you're going to hustle to get more clients. You're going to get more clients. You're going to hustle to satisfy those clients. And then you're going to slow down, or you're going to hustle to get more clients. It's a never ending cycle. And he told me that 1 year in. I remember the second year I didn't do it. The third year I remembered it. And I was like, it's slow. It's January. It's always slow. And the election years and January, February of marketing agencies are always slow. So I always turn and slow down a little bit. So with those, I finally sat down and was like, let this exist. Right? Don't panic that it's not coming. Just let it exist. And sure enough, whether I was grinding or whether I actually let like the universe do what it needs to do and cycle, through the next busy season, I picked up just like I always do right there. I was like, that was nice. Got a lot of beach cruiser time in, back and forth to coffee shops in San Diego.
Oh, that's fantastic. Like when I was in corporate real estate for almost 10 years, and I used to always I'm a doer. I've always been a doer. Now it's different because I have a business or businesses. But when I was there, I had a director, and I'm just like, I'm bored. What should I do? I'm bored. Like, I need more projects. Like, I'm bored. And he always used to say, he's like, just enjoy it. He's like, don't worry about it, because soon you're not going to be bored, and you're going to be so overwhelmed, and you're going to be working 60 or 80-hour weeks or whatever it is. He's like, so who cares? Like, stop talking about it. So I learned through him to not ask for more work, because eventually all of a sudden he would notice when I only had 2 or 3 projects, and then, okay, we should probably, hey, we've got this coming in, stuff like that. So it's okay to be bored. It's okay. Just go be bored and take walks.
Yes. Exactly. Find a boring activity like a walk.
Exactly. Okay, so to wrap this up, can you tell me what's something you're looking for right now?
I'm looking for, honestly, I want a bigger community. That's the thing I want. We got 100, it's either 105 or 107 people in there. And I want more people in that community to just talk about this stuff, because I truly do believe that, like, my thought process on this, while we study it, we're in it day in, day out, but it's my lens is here. Right. And I want someone to say, what about this? And just blow that apart and be like, oh my gosh, I never thought about that. Like, we're in the unique stuff. That's what we're doing. So I want someone to bring this idea that's like, I'm going to take that from a conversation on a Google Meets thing, Google Meets call or whatever you call it, into a 20 foot tall structure in Kentucky that we can rent to other people, right? That to me is the most fun thing in the world. So I want more people to join the community and pour these ideas in and collaborate on all this stuff so that people can take those ideas and run with them.
That's totally cool. So if anybody out there, like, I'm going to put this in show notes on how to get a hold of Mike and how to get to his website. And you can follow them at Build Your Hideaway on social media. Like, so that's, I'm assuming you're on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, we've got Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. If you go to buildyourhideaway.com, all this stuff's linked there. It's real easy.
No, that's perfect. Well, I'll put this in show notes too. And dude, this was fucking great. Like, I love talking to people that care about business the way that I do and that care about alignment and universe. And oh my God, dude, you're the best. Like, I'm so excited to have met you. I really appreciate the people that did the intro to the two of us so that, we can see where this goes. Cause who knows, in 5 years, I don't know, I might be in Kentucky, like walking some land with you and being like, here, could you take this $1 million? Cause I don't have time for this. Could you just take it and go run with it? And you're going to be like, yes, Tanya, of course I will.
Yeah.
I will take that $1,000 or $1 million.
So fun.
It's totally cool. Well, thanks again. I appreciate the time. And that's it. Okay, bye.
Very good connecting. Thank you.
This was